Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to untangle what is, without a doubt, one of the most bizarre and highly classified rabbit holes of the entire 20th century. It's a truly fascinating journey, and it starts deep within the military intelligence apparatus, eventually landing right at the foundation of modern science fiction. Okay, so let's dive right in with a wild but totally true historical fact. The foundational ideas of modern ancient alien theories and honestly some of our most beloved sci-fi lore, they all actually trace back to a 1952 seance. And get this, it was conducted inside a copper-lined cage up in Maine. Oh, and sitting right there in the room taking meticulous notes, that was Gene Roddenberry. Yes, the actual creator of Star Trek. Section 1, The Respected Doctor. Now, to understand how we jump from a copper cage to Hollywood blockbusters and alien channelings, we've got to start with the incredibly credible man at the center of this whole thing, Dr. Andrija Puharich. See, you have to understand, Puharich wasn't some fringe mystic just making things up. Born Henry Carell Puharich, he was a medical doctor educated at Northwestern University. This guy was a legitimate scientist holding over 50 patents. Most of these were actually focused on medical electronics and hearing technology, so he was incredibly well respected in his field. But despite all that mainstream success, Puharich held this profound, unshakable belief that telepathy was a real, absolutely measurable phenomenon that traveled through extremely low-frequency waves. So to study this, he sets up the Round Table Foundation in 1948 on a massive estate in Maine. And here's the kicker. He was funded by some serious political and societal heavyweights. We're talking former Vice President Henry Wallace, the wildly wealthy Astor family, and shockingly, Arthur Young, the engineer who literally designed the first Bell helicopter. Section 2. Cages and the Military. Well, as Puharich's experiments progressed, his super unique approach to studying psychic phenomena rapidly caught the attention of the absolute highest levels of the United States military. Here's what they were doing. Puharich and his team were building Faraday cages. If you're not familiar, these are basically copper-sheathed enclosures designed to completely block out all electromagnetic signals. Puharich's theory was that everyday electromagnetic noise kind of drowns out telepathic signals. You block the noise, the psychic signals get stronger, right? And, well, this theory actually seemed to be validated when a famous Irish medium named Eileen Garrett performed significantly better on her tests while sitting inside one of these cages. And guys, things escalated incredibly quickly from there. By 1948, he's roped into the Navy's top-secret Project Penguin, testing out literal psychic warfare. Fast forward to 1951, and a respected Hindu scholar named Dr. D.G. Vinod accurately reads Puharich's entire life story, just by holding his finger. No joke. That incredible event leads directly to 1952, where Puharich is suddenly inside the Pentagon presenting a paper on weaponized telepathy. The whole thing culminated on New Year's Eve 1952. Dr. Vinod goes into a deep trance and channels what he called the 9 principles, supposedly this eternal collective intelligence managing human evolution. Now, the web only gets more entangled from here. Between 1953 and 1955, Puharich was serving as a captain at the Army's Edgewood Arsenal. For context, that's a facility totally infamous for running chemical and psychochemical testing on soldiers. But at the exact same time, he's also experimenting with a trance-channeling Dutch sculptor named Harry Stone, who claimed he was channeling an ancient Egyptian named Rahotep. During these trances, Stone started detailing this sacred mushroom used to literally separate the soul from the body. Fascinatingly, while Puharich was busy investigating this hallucinogen, the CIA was secretly running MK-Ultra subprojects. Using a front called the Geese Fund, they were down in Mexico hunting for the exact same mushroom to use in psychological warfare. Section 3. The Tooth Radio. Okay, so before we get to the extraterrestrials, and we will get there, we absolutely have to look at one specific, honestly chilling invention Puharich patented during this time. Under the guise of an advanced hearing aid, Puharich was granted patent 3170993 in 1965 for what is effectively a tooth radio. It's exactly what it sounds like. This device used a metal tooth filling to act as a secret radio antenna. It could receive a signal and then transmit voices directly into a person's skull via the facial nerve system, completely bypassing the ears altogether. The military immediately recognized what this meant. You could secretly beam instructions or, maddening disembodied voices directly into an agent's or an enemy's head, and nobody standing next to them would hear a single thing. So we hit a pretty crucial crossroads here. On one hand, you have all these claims of genuine psychic phenomena, right? Hearing disembodied voices. But on the other hand, you have Puharich's tooth radio mechanically doing the exact same thing. I mean, decades before actress Lucille Ball casually mentioned on a talk show that her dental fillings were picking up radio stations' Morse code, Puharich had quite literally patented the technology to simulate psychic voices inside someone's head. Section 4. Uri Geller and extraterrestrials. Armed with these deep military connections and, frankly, some bizarre technological patents, Puharich's journey shifted dramatically in 1971. He went from studying earthly telepathy straight into cosmic communication. In 1971, Puharich discovered a 24-year-old Israeli illusionist you might have heard of, Uri Geller. While under hypnosis, Geller claimed to actually be an ambassador for a spacecraft called Spectra. Intrigued, Puharich brought him to the Stanford Research Institute for some incredibly rigorous testing by laser physicists. And the declassified results? They were stunning. Geller successfully reproduced drawings hidden inside sealed envelopes. He inexplicably increased the force on a scale protected under a glass dome from 50 milligrams all the way up to 1,500 milligrams. He even swung a magnetometer without physically touching it. These findings were so mind-blowing they were actually published in the highly prestigious scientific journal, Nature. But as you might expect, the backlash was immediate. Skeptics, like the famous magician James Randi, claimed the whole thing was just sleight of hand. The most damaging blow, however, came from a physicist named Joseph Hanlon. He pointed out a wildly suspicious coincidence. The very man vouching for Geller's telepathy, Dr. Puharich, had just patented a tooth device perfectly designed to secretly transmit voices. So skeptics started loudly asking, was Geller simply being fed the answers via his teeth? Following this massive controversy, Geller quickly distanced himself from Puharich, rebranded himself as an international celebrity, and, that promised extraterrestrial landing never happened. Section 5, Star Trek and the Nine. Having lost his very famous spokesperson, Puharich just went ahead and rebuilt his circle, unlocking what is easily the most culturally influential chapter of this entire explainer. After a brief stint with another channeler whose mind, quite frankly, nearly broke from the psychological toll of it all, a Florida-based medium named Phyllis Schlemmer joined the group. Between 1974 and 1975, she started channeling this entity calling itself Tom. Eventually, Tom drops a bombshell, revealing that he was actually Atum, the primordial creator god of ancient Egypt and a key member of the Ennead. Now, Ennead comes from Greek, and if you translate it directly, it means the Council of Nine. Tom went on to provide this massive, intricate organizational chart of the universe. At the very top is God, described as unified, constantly growing, and fueled purely by love. Directly below that are the Nine, acting as non-physical overseers of everything. Executing their will are 24 physical civilizations operating on different frequency realities. This included a civilization called Altea, which was supposedly the source of Atlantis, and, interestingly, a group called Huva. Tom claimed Huva was the civilization that actually produced the Hebrews and Jesus. And the crucial detail here? Huva was the exact same civilization Uri Geller had previously claimed to represent. The lore just kept expanding. They were told that Earth was the only planet of choice. Essentially, we're this uniquely miserable, dense planet that possesses genuine free will, which unfortunately was completely stalling the spiritual growth of the rest of the universe. Now, remember Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, was broke and desperate at the time, and he was actually hired by one of Puharich's wealthy backers to literally sit in the room and take notes on all of this. He absorbed this entire cosmic model, and it directly inspired him to write an unproduced Star Trek movie script titled The God Thing. What makes this so incredibly vital for us today is that this obscure, weird little room basically laid the groundwork for the modern New Age movement and injected this deep alien lore straight into mainstream sci-fi culture. Simultaneously, while all this channeling is happening, Puharich escalated his physical experiments. He built something called Lab 9 on an estate in Ossining, New York, and recruited about 20 psychic children he literally dubbed the Space Kids. He'd place these kids inside his copper Faraday cages to allegedly remote view Russian targets, like the Kremlin, for intelligence purposes. But this whole operation came to a very sudden, violent end in August 1978. An arsonist burned the entire estate to the ground. All the records were completely destroyed, prompting a very paranoid Puharich to pack up and flee to Mexico. Section 6. The Law of One. Puharich's personal records may have gone up in smoke, but the intricate cosmic framework he had spent decades helping to construct, that had permanently taken on a life of its own. Fast forward to 1981. a totally separate research group, led by a guy named Don Elkins, began channeling a Venusian entity named Ra. This resulted in the highly influential Law of One texts. And here's where it gets crazy. When this new group explicitly asked Ra about the Council of Nine, Ra confirmed that Puharich's council was completely real. Ra stated that the Nine existed in the 8th density and physically met in the rings of Saturn, which perfectly echoed the exact same Genesis story that Puharich's group had recorded years earlier. Puharich passed away in 1995, leaving us to try and unravel this absolutely incredible legacy. We are left to wonder, did a brilliant medical doctor invent a tooth radio just to run a hyper-sophisticated CIA psychological operation that eventually tricked the creator of Star Trek? Or was the American military actually tapping into and mapping out the genuine, channeled hierarchy of the universe? It is a puzzle that perfectly bridges the gap between Cold War espionage and the stars. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this sparked your curiosity to look a little deeper into this wild history.